The Cloverdale organism is a massive, highly aggressive, and virulent plant-like entity first encountered by the Destiny expedition while exploring the depths of the unnamed forest planet in the second galaxy. An organism which seemingly belongs to an entirely novel kingdom of life. It appears to not only share properties and characteristics with both flora and fauna, with both plants and animals, but it appears also to in fact be one single massive organism. What's fascinating is that the Cloverdale organism actually bears a remarkable similarity to what is known on Earth as clonal colonies, like for example quaking aspens, but only on a much grander scale, in that it appears to in fact be one single living organism with a massive subterranean root system with even identical genetic markers. The largest clonal colony on Earth, for instance, is a single male quaking aspen named Pondo, which occupies some 430,000 square meters. Pondo is also among the Earth's oldest known living organisms, at approximately 80,000 years old. The Cloverdale organism, on the other hand, may very well extend for thousands, even millions of square kilometers, with an age perhaps even exceeding 1,000,000 years. In appearance, the organism resembles somewhat a very large and peculiar flower, peculiar in that they behave much like a true animal, even displaying a degree of sentience. It was exceedingly aware of the environment, such that it even followed the away team by spreading towards them. It is not clear how it was able to achieve this, but Dr. Rush postulated that the organism may be tracking their movements by sensing vibrations in the ground. Unfortunately, the complete organism cannot be observed directly, as the vast majority of its mass lies below the surface. We see only its many stems or stalks protruding the land, as they tower above the forest floor. A single stalk appears to reach heights as tall as 6 meters, although the entire organism may consist of perhaps hundreds or even thousands of such individual stalks. The visible portion of the organism resembles somewhat the anatomy of a flower. At its apex, what appears to be its bulbous head, they possess a considerably large and presumably hollow stinger-like organ. Imagine a hypodermic needle the size of a butcher's knife, in place where would normally be a flower stigma. Running along its stalk, moreover, there are a number of short branch-like appendages which extend all the way up to what appears to be where its stalk meets its head, which itself is covered by a number of small bulges or lumps, each with its own little thorn or barb protruding from its apex. The Cloverdale organism is one imposing beast. It is through this large stinger-like organ that they inject a kind of pathogen into any passers-by unlucky enough to stray too close. What's more, this unknown pathogen appears also to have mutagenic properties, functioning almost as a kind of retrovirus by targeting a host cell and perhaps incorporating new DNA. Once introduced into the bloodstream, as happened to Lieutenant Scott, one experiences an intense pain emanating from the source, while falling also in and out of consciousness. Almost instantly, the pathogen appears to initiate within the infected a kind of radical transformation on a cellular level. Dr. Park posited that the organism may have infected Scott in order to spread, and that if they were to take him aboard Destiny, it would only be a matter of time before the infected area breached quarantine, in turn releasing a swarm of microscopic spores into the air. All one would have to do is breathe it in, and the same thing happening to Scott could happen to everyone else on board, but from the inside out. It can't be known for sure, Park noted, but one way or another, she assumed, it's what virulent, aggressive organisms do. We can't invite it aboard. Using the Kino as it flew high above the alien terrain, Park maneuvered it by remote to gain a better idea as to the true extent of the organism. Park explains, "What we can see above ground must only be a fraction of the whole organism. The bulk of it has to be like an enormous root system that extends outwards from the flora, dormant until its prey gets close enough to get stung and survive just long enough to spread spores. I don't even want to think what it can do aboard a ship. It is not clear, however, as to whether Lieutenant Scott had clearly and overtly provoked the organism, or if the attack was purely a result of its innate aggression or some primal instinct to spread out and propagate. "What do you think it is?" asked Young. "Plant? Animal?" "Maybe properties of both, like coral," Park responded. "Except its growth rate smacks right up against the laws of thermodynamics. It is indeed a true superorganism, like nothing ever seen on Earth." It also displayed a remarkable resilience to medical intervention. Lieutenant Johansen administered a number of treatments, but all to no avail. She also administered some squiggler venom to dull the pain and, perhaps, halt or at least slow down the pathogen as it continued to spread. But even the squiggler venom proved ineffectual. "It didn't even react to the acid," Lieutenant Johansen remarked, with an exasperated tone. "It's like this thing is indestructible. No doubt is this thing exceedingly resilient, but it is not indestructible. Fire appears to be the only thing capable of destroying the organism on a cellular level." The organism turned out to have a vulnerability. Lieutenant Johansen noticed that there was a droplet of the pathogen on Chloe's shirt. She couldn't believe how well it had grown right through the material, perhaps even, she speculated, from a microscopic spore as it fed upon the shirt's fibers. It was able to grow merely by consuming inorganic matter, even synthetic fibers. Surprisingly, the organism showed a vulnerability to Chloe's blood, whose DNA had been tampered with by the Nakai. As a result, Chloe was impervious to the pathogen. Not only was it ineffective, but also susceptible to Chloe's modified white blood cells. One may only presume that her antibodies have, via some wholly unknown process of biochemistry, the uncanny ability to reverse all cell mutation. This revelation sparked the idea to perform a blood transfusion on Scott. Within moments, his pulse was already starting to get stronger. Suddenly, Scott regained consciousness, with his system now free of the pathogen, as remnants of the infection shattered like glass from his arm, revealing underneath a fully restored human limb. No doubt is the Cloverdale organism a truly bizarre manifestation of life. One strange as is fascinating, though one cannot help but wonder as to how this relentless and voracious organism fits into the planet's ecology. Given its deeply aggressive and virulent nature, its apparent mode of propagation, one must question the state of the planet's biodiversity. As the Cloverdale organism appears not to tolerate the presence of any competing forms of animal life, there is a distinct possibility that all animal life on the planet may have been assimilated by the organism. Unfortunately, this world is simply far too dangerous to ever explore and find out. So what do you think about the Cloverdale organism? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe for more Stargate-related content. This is Destiny's Computer, logging off.